Okay, guys, alternate ending. Take 43.
With so many movies on the net and TV, it's kind of hard being up and film savvy. Do you catch a show while you're on the go? And how do you know what to keep or what to throw? How do you know what to keep or what to throw? Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Now! Please give a warm welcome to the hosts of Alternate Ending.
Welcome to Alternating. We're discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. I'm film school dropout Robert Jarsinski. Across from me is our casual moviegoer Carrie Jarsinski and our very own critic in residence Tim Brayton. The buzz of the upcoming Star Wars: The Last Jedi is Palpatine.
No.
No?
No.
That was
I don't even think a word. No, words
no, it's
don't
a
even
word.
mean that. It's a word that means something. It's throbbing.
Did you mean to say palpitating?
No, because I swapped out palpable with Palpatine, who is the Emperor in Star Wars. Do you see what I did there?
I saw what you did there, and I don't approve. His name in the original draft of, I think, Empire Strikes Back was Cos Dashit. And everyone was like, George Lucas, you're a bad idiot man. And he changed it to Palpatine. I'm
excited to get to the George Lucas, what his contributions to the Star Wars series have been, for better or for worse. So this is exactly why we're dedicating an entire episode to spoiling first the original trilogy because of just really limited time. But before we do, Care, I know you were traveling a little bit.
Yeah, I was in Arizona.
Where were you? Where were you off to?
I went to Arizona. I just said I went to Arizona.
Yeah, you listen to your wife.
That's right. When I'm talking.
I'd like to talk over you. That's what I do.
I know. Yeah, so I went to Arizona to visit a friend of my mom's and I. And I always like to bring my weird stories back for you guys. So here's a what would you do scenario I'm going to lay out for you, all right?
All right.
So I'm on the plane.
You're on the plane.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I literally will dehydrate my body. I will do whatever it takes to not go to the bathroom on a plane
because plane bathrooms are like, the size of a shoebox. And
size of a shoebox.
On some sort of ice cold metal plate.
Totally weird.
Much too close to where other people's pee has been.
Yeah. My junk is just all over other people's pee. It's. I hover. I'm a definite hover. But anyway, so my mom's like, oh, there's like another hour and 45 minutes. And I just realized I just couldn't do it. And I was like, crap. So I get up and I go and I'm waiting there by the door. And there's only one bathroom. And the guy's in there just ever so slightly too long. So I'm like kind of lingering. There's a line that's starting to form behind me. And I was like, all right. So the guy comes out. It's a little odorous, or whatever. So I go into the bathroom and open the thing. There's just a giant turd still stuck on the inside of the toilet. It hasn't flushed. It's like low water flow, low pressure. So I don't know what to do. I did the initial flush. Still there. It's not washing it away. So then I go to the bathroom and still there. Here's my question to you guys. What do you do? Because now you're going to leave. There's a line. The person after you is going to think that's your turd.
Mm-hmm.
So what
is it? A turd you could be proud of though, because if it's a deuce that you can really embrace and say, hey, look at what I.
It's one that's been like washed away, on the beach. It's had a little water that's been trying to wash it down, but it hasn't. So it's just sticking there. And so ethically or not ethically, but from a societal norm perspective, how do you handle this?
I mean, I feel like this is a situation where there's actually a very weirdly specific gendered, or not gendered necessarily, but sex difference. Because, I've been in a position, as I'm sure Rob has, where you go into a public restroom and someone's leavings are still in the toilet tank. When guys pee, you can force it really hard and use it as a little fire hose to clear the stuff out. So that's what I would do in that situation.
Sure.
Is just pee at it until it washes away.
Well, hold on a second. I'm confused.
Yeah.
What's the concern? Because women don't poop. So this is... They wouldn't assume it was you, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
You're safe.
No, but at the time, I was confident. Well, now on top of it, I flushed so many times.
So you're not willing to engage with the peeing as fire hose philosophy.
I like it, though. I'm not really confident with Carrie's aim. I've seen her try to go in.
I don't think a woman could do it. I think only a guy could do it.
No, yeah, it didn't go away.
Because you can't really aim, right?
No, I mean, if you're good.
I mean, men can write their names famously. So we've got we aim.
Yeah. Well, so you're saying you would just do nothing? What would you do in this scenario?
No, I think I tried to.
So you would have pushed it down with your own urine.
And if that didn't work, I would simply lock myself in the bathroom and knock it out until the flight.
I didn't think of that.
See,
I wouldn't even proceed with my business until that business was taken care of.
Well, that's the thing. If I had to sit, again, and this is a gender thing, if I had to sit on that toilet, I would not do so.
Yeah,
I would have just left.
You know what? I would have just left right away. Yeah. So what did you?
And then I would have gone and I would have peed on the individual who left his poo in the toilet.
Who left his
and
poo
I would
in
have
the
been like,
toilet.
this is what you get.
I would have tracked them down and then hit the call attendant light underneath them, and then waited and then explained
publicly shame them.
Publicly shame. The real question is, what did you do, Care?
I left and I explained myself to the next person in line.
You explained yourself?
I mean,
That's
I
not
had
me?
to.
You said that was not mine?
I just said briefly, that's not my turn there.
I mean, that is also
I don't know if I
approach.
regret it or not. Was that weird? Is that weird?
Yes, but I feel like the situation requires a weird I was talking about fire hoses of pee, so weirdness is already
is already in
assumed.
the air. Yeah. I'm just trying to think if I could handle it differently, I will do what you guys said. I'm glad I'm on this podcast, because next time I will either leave and not go or try and wash it down with my own urine.
These are the types of tips you can find here on Alternate Ending.
And you thought you were going to hear about Star Wars.
Well, I wonder how they take care of business on those TIE fighters, or those are long flights, or on the Millennium Falcon.
Those people, these are movie people. They
or on
don't
the
have
Death Falcon,
physical
Death
needs.
Star.
Well, usually this is the part of the episode where we discuss our worth mentioning, but because Star Wars is special, and since we had very little time this
special
week,
is code word for nobody watched a non-Star Wars film this week.
So we're going to jump right into thanking everyone who supports the show in a variety of ways. One way to support the show is Patreon, Tim, which has made some news of its own.
Yeah, so Patreon is changing the way they process fees. It's going to supposedly go into effect on December 18th. We're not going to get into all the details because there's a lot of them, but basically the nugget of it is that they are shifting the cost of paying transaction fees off of the creator who's receiving the money and onto the person donating the money, which I think rather reasonably has gotten a lot of people really, really pissed off, because I think there's a social contract, and when you go to the grocery store, you don't pay more because you're using a credit card, even though the grocery store pays more. And I mean, these things don't happen. So I think we all just sort of assume, well, the creator, the vendor, the provider who is being given money eats the fees as part of getting the money. And Patreon is doing away with that.
Do you know why? What's their why?
Their why is to protect creators. So their stated why,
consistent income flow for the
stated why is to make things easier on creators. The actual why seems to be that they're trying to they're trying to justify a very large valuation that maybe was not justified. There's a whole lot. I mean, like I said, there's a whole lot. Go hunt the blogs. You will find lots of people talking about this from lots of different perspectives, virtually none of which are pro Patreon. But yeah, so this is going on, and here at Alternate Ending, we do value our Patreon subscribers, and we certainly hope that more of you will in the future become Patreon subscribers. And we do know that this new system discourages people from donating at that lower, like $1 to $3, maybe under $5 level, which is bad for us, because we want you to give us $1 a month and $1 a month.
Well, and that's more economical for some people. So it's like you want to have all the options open to everybody.
Exactly. So we're in the process of figuring out what we're going to do about that, but we just wanted to let all of you know we know this is going on, and we thank you for your patience while we're figuring this out. And obviously, if you're uncomfortable with the new direction Patreon is going, don't feel like you need to sign up with us this minute.
And it affects existing users more disproportionately because you didn't have the choice. Going forward, we're still putting content out there too. We're exploring other options as well too. But know what you're getting into. New users have that ability now to know what what the sign up is going to be. So
and one thing, I believe we still have a PayPal account.
Yep.
So PayPal works. You can still say, here's how much money I want to give on a monthly basis. That is the amount of money that comes out of your account, and then we get that minus PayPal's fees. So for right now, I'd say, PayPal might be a direction you want to go.
And we want to hear from you too. If there's anything else that we can do, if you're unhappy with the direction Patreon took, you want to make changes, let us know about it. In the meantime, that is still the best place if you're looking for ways to for perks like making us watch a movie, have Tim write a review, or picking your own episode topic. Still can do it all from our Patreon page, just like our newest Patreon members. These happen after the announcement, so it's not discouraging.
So some people are excited about this process.
Michael Matula and Martha K. Sandler both picked up the Critics' Choice Awards, Tim. So those are your rewards because it entitles them to a Tim review of a movie of their choice. This very podcast shout out and all of our bonus content, which we've been putting out more and more of and figuring out new ways to do it. Only one of those left, Tim.
All right.
Yeah, you're going to be all booked up.
I'm excited.
So make sure you get out there to Patreon, PayPal, whatever, and lock that last one down. Also want to thank all of our listeners who support the show and make their Amazon purchases through our site. Doing it is easy. Just go to our website, alternateending.com, click on our Amazon banner, and seamlessly go about your purchases. All proceeds go to making our show better. Quite a lot of purchases this week, guys. Yeah.
Christmas is coming.
It is.
Christmas.
A lot
That's
of books. You might have to help me out with this.
Okay, well.
Where is the baby's belly button? ? A Lift the Flap book. Not really sure.
That's
The belly
super
button is
cute.
not under the baby's flap, and
No.
if you're messing around with the baby's flap, shame on you. Shame.
But why does that
the flap?
require a flap book?
No, because it's it's probably like, oh, there's a shirt. In the shirt, you take off the shirt. Oh, there's the belly
So
button.
we're encouraging kids to.
So we're not merely encouraging lifting the baby's flap, we're encouraging stripping babies.
in
the public forum.
This is a very
This is actually a thing that our youngest Alice likes to do.
loves
She loves
peekaboo.
pulling up people's shirts and like poking
Sure, it's
in
a really
like
classy
a Pillsbury
book.
Dough,
I am
Doughboy.
for a classy
enormously
purchaser.
happy that this has not happened to me yet.
I'm sure you
wait.
had somebody peekaboo
On the
your
way
belly.
home.
I have not had your child peekaboo my belly.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Not yet.
Since we've been podcasting.
That's true.
We also had Open the Barn Door,
Another kid
another
book.
kid book, and then not a kid. Well, depends. Maybe just an advanced child in film theory and criticism, introductory readings.
That sounds like what I read when I was a kid.
Greater Gotham: A History of New York City from 1898 to 1919.
Okay.
Then we had books, self-portrait, or no S there. So it's just
Self-portrait.
it's just a picture
Self-portrait?
of themselves.
Elf portrait?
Well, it's,
No,
it's probably
self.
You said
someone's
no S.
memoir. Does it indicate the author?
It does not.
So it's probably the self-portrait of someone who is unnamed.
That's like a whole book, you think?
I mean,
Just a book.
memoirs. You are familiar with the concept of the autobiography.
You're saying it's not a picture.
It's like self-portrait by, I don't know, Kim Kardashian. or
Okay.
something.
All right. I see what you're saying. So clothing also had some baby girl's long sleeve flowers, hoodie top, and pants outfit.
Do you know
for
anyone
12 to
having a
18
baby?
months old. Yeah, 12 to 18 is like more of a buying in advance. Oh, with a kangaroo pocket, little pouch.
Oh, I like
Oh.
that. I highly recommend when you buy gifts for people to buy them when they're older because you never take them out of their pajamas when they're less than like 3 months old.
Also had a music fan Cheap Trick Stack logo T-shirt purchased. I'm assuming Cheap Trick the band.
Could be.
Presumably.
Safe bet there. Also a Magnavox CD boombox with AM/FM radio. I had no idea CD boomboxes
You know what?
existed.
Some people are 80
Yeah.
and use the internet and listen to our show, apparently.
Everyone needs a boombox. I have a boombox still.
We still have CDs. I have my
Yeah.
CD collection still.
I
in
mean,
the basement
I'm
collection.
still all in on physical media, but I listen to it on my very nice stereo.
Well, the thing is, like, what do you do? What do you put over your shoulder when you walk around if you don't have a boombox?
That's a good point.
Yeah. See?
You can't put it.
Good
Would
point.
look pretty lame.
I
Putting
mean,
your
you could carry your
iPad.
entire TV,
over your
which is
shoulder.
what I listen to my music through.
We also had some additional clothing purchase, some Carter's baby girl 4-piece. So yeah, must be a baby coming or has recently arrived. Gourmet food, Nishiki premium rice, medium grain.
Okay.
All right.
15-pound bag. I don't really. Is the grain the length of the?
Yes, that's correct.
That's
Okay.
right.
What's your? I like the long grain. I think that.
I think you do. I like short grain.
I mean, long grain white rice is not something that anyone sells, so I think you've just revealed your flagrant amounts of ignorance.
Why don't they show? Why don't they sell long grain?
Because they're short and medium. Well, long grain would generally be wild rice.
Or balsamic.
That's what I want. I want it wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want it unencumbered.
But so you don't want white rice. White rice. Wild rice and white rice are two different things.
No, I don't want white rice.
Wild rice is not rice. It's something else.
That's what I
grain.
want.
I forget what it is.
I want it natural.
But sometimes you want white rice
Okay.
To make sushi.
to make lots of things.
Yeah.
Also had an ultralight sleeping pad purchase for some backpack camping. Mummy sleeping bag with compression
Oh, I
sack.
want one of those so bad.
Is that the thing where it's like completely
Yeah, it
enveloped?
encases you.
It encases you
Looks
for
like
those
a
cold nights.
like a mummy.
Also had the Trail of the Painted Pony Star Spangled Rodeo Patriotic Horse figurine. Very cool. Second edition Dominion board game. Advent
Oh,
out
I
of
know
the board.
Dominion. Dominion's really good.
Yeah, is that more of a grown-up?
It's
kind of board
definitely
game?
grown up. It's really more of a card game than a board game, and it's really good. And it's for grown-ups.
Very nice. Well, I'm also excited about the Amazon Instant Videos and DVDs purchased. On DVD, Happy Hour purchased. Not familiar with that movie.
Really?
Sure it's not
You know
Happy
it?
Feet?
Nope, Happy Hour.
Happy hour. I think I've heard
Just
of it,
a
though.
lot of drinking
Happy Together.
from 4 to 6. Nope, Happy Hour.
Just the hour. Yeah.
Logan Lucky on Amazon Instant Video.
heard of that one.
Way to go, purchaser.
Good
You're
show.
going to enjoy that. Amazon Instant Video also, I know where I'm going! Exclamation point.
Such a good movie. It's Powell and Pressburger who did A Matter of Life and Death, which was
Oh.
a spoiler alert for a while.
Where did it score on the target?
I think that is their closest to the center that was not dead center, if I recall correctly.
Not quite a bullseye, but near
It's a
bullseye.
really good film about
No one
a
knows
woman
what you're
who goes
talking
into the
about.
sky.
I do now.
For those who
I
follow
do.
the show, they know.
Yeah, it's a
'Cause remember,
callback.
There's a callback to like 40 episodes ago, and the closer you get to the bullseye, the better it is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one bullseye, right?
There are, I think, 3.
There are only
bullseye.
3
Maybe there are 4.
bullseyes and 4 bullseyes to date.
We also had a movie that I'm interested in checking out, Victoria and Abdul. We haven't seen that. Are you familiar with that, Carrie? Seen the previews?
Yeah, Tim said it was terrible.
It's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I think it's a movie Carrie would like,
know.
regardless of what's being
Regardless
said
of how
about it.
terrible it is.
Yeah, I feel like I would.
Also had two copies on Amazon Instant Video, or I guess 2 rentals or purchases of Princess Sid.
I've heard that's a movie we need to catch up with before the year end. I need to see that.
All right, taking some notes here. Princess Sid. Amazon Instant Video, last one, Slapshot.
Hockey movie.
I would assume so. Have not seen
It
it.
would seem like hockey would be the parsimonious assumption to make.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for all your purchases. When we get back, our spoiler alert for the Star Wars original trilogy.
Bum, 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 blah, blah, da, 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 da.
And welcome back to Alternating. We're talking about our spoiler alert for the Star Wars original trilogy. Care, this caused some confusion for you. What comprised the original trilogy? You had some you were like, what does that mean? Why is the you were a little confused about that. Do you want to care to explain? I
got it down now.
You got it down.
All
right. Can you
got my
set us
criteria.
up for what that actually means?
So here's the criteria for those of you who don't know. The movie must have the name Star Wars in the title. Yeah?
Yes.
You're safe.
Safe. And that's about it. That's the criteria. And is there anything else?
I think not.
Yeah, that
Right.
really covers it. So those are the ones we're going to talk about today.
For the original trilogy? So it
Yeah.
just has Star Wars in the
But that would
title?
classify
What
because there's
about
many.
films that have Star Wars in the title that are not part of the original trilogy?
There's none of those.
There are at
Except
least
one.
5 of them.
Oh, are you talking about the animated series? So the prequel trilogy is Phantom Menace. So this, right?
Well, it's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace is its
Oh,
title. Because actually the
sorry.
copyright title is Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
All right. So we're going to cover today Star Wars episode 4 through 6.
Nicely done.
Thanks.
Yes.
And that's called the original Star Wars trilogy. There's something that comes before that, which is called the prequel trilogy.
Indeed.
Indeed. And then,
Made later, but set chronologically earlier.
Which is
hence
interesting.
Prequels.
which is interesting. And then something happens after it, what we'll talk about today, which is called the sequel trilogy, of which there are 2 movies, which are 7 and 8.
Yes.
Right?
I don't know if we'll talk about them today, but
We're not, but I'm just telling you, there's lots of them out there, not just the 3 we're talking about today.
There are, as of December 15th, 8 Star Wars episodes.
There's also something called an anthology film, which I actually have no idea what that is, but it's the only one I've seen.
Yes.
Because Rogue One was an anthology film, and I don't know why, but we'll get to that later.
Because it is not an episode.
I still don't know what you're talking about, but we'll get there. So, so we watched all 3 of them, had never seen them before. So we saw A New Hope, which is 4, The Empire Strikes Back, which is 5, and then Return of the Jedi, which is 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Got that all right? Okay.
Yeah, all from the creative mind of George Lucas. Originally, the original canon.
Yes. Well, ultimately, so was the prequel trilogy, and,
Yeah.
and the degree to which it is all from the mind of George Lucas is, I think,
Fair enough. Yeah, we'll get into
point
that.
at
I'm
which
looking forward to
people disagree.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing that part as well too.
And
So
I do want to complicate things ever so slightly, because that is what I do. The 1977 film was not initially released as Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. It was released as Star Wars, and was first renamed Episode 4: A New Hope, I believe, in 1979.
Okay, and we'll talk about a little bit why in a little bit too. But Carrie, I'm interested. This is your first. You've seen Rogue One.
I saw Rogue One.
And you've seen Spaceballs.
I've seen Spaceballs, and I think
Does Spaceballs now make more sense?
It does. Or does Star Wars make more sense?
That's a good question.
Good question. We'll get there. So
there was a lot of chatter on the site about what we were doing with you in this experiment.
I didn't look at all. I didn't look at all.
Exposing you to this because others have tried.
Okay.
Some for people who've never experienced Star Wars, and it did not go over well.
Some have succeeded, some have failed.
Okay. I can see that. I can see where that would happen. Yeah, I'm more concerned about this episode than any other because of that polarization.
Because of how much you hated Star Wars.
And I'm concerned. Yeah, no, they were totally fine. They were totally fine.
So overall, you liked it. You're in on Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm on the fringe. I wouldn't call myself like in the Death Star. I'm kind of on the fringe of the Death Star. All right. Whatever it's called.
So being in the Death Star, being good, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, if you're...
so you already have a fundamental misunderstanding of the narrative content.
No, I'm in the Jedi camp. I definitely wouldn't want to be a part of the Empire.
Right.
I definitely wouldn't want to be friends with, oh God, what's that guy's name with the red eyeballs? Starts with an E.
Emperor?
I don't want to be his friend.
That was my whole Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine, Kostasha.
Yeah.
So you go teen, huh?
What?
You go teen? I go
I think in English, T-I-N-E is not
Dang it.
generally pronounced tin.
Okay.
Might be tine.
Darn it.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
But
we were gifted these trilogies thanks to Tim, and we watched this in a particular fashion, despecialized.
Yeah, the despecialized editions made by a fan editor named Harmy, who took it upon himself to undo the decades of accretion of visual effects that George Lucas has begun slapping onto the movie since 1997. Mostly just because, I think is there something to be said for the special editions and all of their digital gimcrackery? I think so. But, this was Carrie's first time, so I wanted to make sure she saw the versions that have the historical importance of being from 1977 through 1983.
And for me, this is really the first time since I was a kid, I did not see them on the big screen, probably catching them on whatever television network
your Magnavox
was airing them.
Yeah.
My boombox, yes.
Yeah.
It was nice to kind of revisit, and I had an idea of what Star Wars was, and it's been 20 plus years for sure. Closer to 25 years since I've really sat down with them, and certainly not seen them back to back to back. I really enjoyed them a lot too. Certainly had thoughts on preferences on which order I liked. I'm curious on for you guys.
Let's get there.
Okay. We want to hold back on that. Okay.
That's something after we discuss the movies a little bit.
I have a question too for you on when was the last time you watched these?
I watched them right before Episode 7, The Force Awakens, came out in 2015.
Okay, so it's recent for you.
Prior to that, it had been 2005.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people do that. They cram for all of the newer Star Wars. This becomes a marathon that they endure, not endure, but enjoy doing.
We haven't done the prequels yet. Endure is not a bad word.
Okay.
Do you feel like track with me here, do you feel like all of these movies sort of blur together in a way that you can't really distinguish the movies in any fashion?
I absolutely do not, but I can understand why that would be your response,
okay,
given the circumstances under which you watched them.
Yeah, parsing them out was a little difficult when I was looking back through my notes.
To me, there are enormously evident tonal and stylistic shifts.
You mean because the weather was different in all of them? Because
the weather is different.
That's where I distinguish. Yeah.
Seeing them for this really in completion the second time around, I notice the differences more between because I know I have a understanding a little bit more about the filmmaking process, so
sure,
I capture those. As a young lad, I probably would have agreed it just kind of flows together. I wouldn't be able to tell you plot points where one movie starts and one movie ends.
Yeah.
It just all it all flowed somewhat together as a kid.
So should we start with A New Hope then?
Makes sense.
Go into that?
Yeah, I say we let you drive this because you are the Star Wars movie. I know what I think about Star Wars, and we'll never
So
need to
let's
think
do that
about them
thing
again,
like we
so I'm
did for
curious.
Alien, where I'm going to tell you what I think happened, and
All right.
you tell me if I'm right.
Sounds good.
Okay. So Star Wars Episode 4, I'm already off. New Hope
exciting.
is from 1977.
Yes.
And so this is the first in the original series when this happened. So this introduces us.
When it happened, it was just a movie.
Sure.
It was just the movie that was called Star Wars.
Star Wars. Nothing was happening after that,
yep.
nothing before. And so it introduces us to Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. Luke is sort of just like hanging out in sort of this sandy planet. And then there's this evil empire who includes Darth Vader. He's there. And there's some stormtroopers, and they're all in this bad, evil place. So then you meet Obi-Wan Kenobi, who watches over Luke. He's sort of like his mentor. He's sort of this like very nice and friendly guy. And then something really bad happens to Luke's aunt and uncle, and it forces Luke to find his Jedi potential. Am I good there?
I mean,
Okay.
no, but yeah, you haven't said anything that's inaccurate. I
That's
think you're just
inaccurate.
sort of like, I'm yes.
Okay.
Continue.
So Jedis are the good guys, just so if people aren't aware of that. The Empire are the bad guys. So he ends up having to team up with Han Solo, who's played by Harrison Ford, a very nice looking Harrison Ford in the first one. And he goes out, and Harrison Ford happens to be, he's a rebel. He's a bad guy, rebel without a cause. He's like a bounty, or no, he goes out and he does things for money. Like he's kind of
He would be
He's not a bounty hunter,
mercenary.
but yeah, he's a
mercenary.
Yeah.
Is he a mercenary? Did
He's
you
a
say?
mercenary.
Yeah. So he goes off, and then he has this friend named Chewie, who's kind of this sort of Harry Furball situation, and the two of them team up to go out and help people out, but for money, right?
Keep going, because there's a major plot point that
I'm missing.
I'm still
I'm getting
waiting to
there.
hear.
I'm getting there.
I'm curious when that plot point is. I mean, I assume we're talking about the same plot point.
I
but
think so.
So I don't know. So he teams up, he goes out, and then he goes after the Death Star. Is that it? Death Star? Okay. Death Star is this massive ship where all the bad guys are on, and they have to go out, and then Princess Leia, who's a key character in this movie, needs to be saved. So she's taken. And then they go out, and then they use their lightsabers, and they go out and try to get her back.
I feel like you've missed the first 10 minutes of this movie somehow.
Yeah?
Like the first 10 minutes.
Maybe I'm going to get there in this last line.
Okay.
But then Obi-Wan Kenobi dies, which happens to be very sad because he was a very nice guy. And we're all very sad about that. And that is the movie.
So you missed both the opening 10 and the closing 20 minutes.
Wait, which part did I miss?
The part where they have the plans to destroy the Death Star.
Oh, so that
And
they
then they do
implant.
so.
Oh yeah. Okay. Wait. So
And you've seen Rogue One, which is
the movie about how they acquire those plans.
Right. So I was going to say that was, oh gosh, yeah, that's the next line I have here. So the next line was, in the very beginning, Princess Leia, before she gets abducted, ends up putting these plans that she has in the small, shorter robot, R2-D2.
Yes.
Yes. And then, yeah, that's right. And then the tall one and the short robot are running around in the sand trying to get away, and everyone's after these robots because he has those plans in his tummy.
And then now when we pick up with Luke, that's where Luke has encountered.
'cause
Yes.
The interesting thing about Star Wars is that we don't meet Luke Skywalker for like 20 minutes.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And
Yeah.
he's our protagonist, but the movie really does
Those plans are really important.
They're important because they show, as we learned in Rogue One, and also through this, is that the Death Star does have a single weakness that kind of in Rogue One we learned that it was built into the Death Star on purpose.
Well, that is a spoiler alert because we're not talking about Rogue One.
I can edit that part out.
Everyone saw Rogue One.
I would think so. Who's listening to this episode?
So what did I miss from the end? You said I missed the last 20 minutes.
You missed the scene where they're all flying around and shooting, and the music is playing.
That's every movie. That's fine.
But it's done particularly well in Star Wars.
Oh, really?
And it's in every movie in part because it was in Star Wars.
Okay, I can see that's
Luke
importance.
using the Force to ultimately, unconventionally, not use the electronics or whatever to actually find the spot where he needs to
I don't believe he
shot.
needed the Force to do that, because as we know, he was able to bulldoze Womp Rats in his T-17 back home.
That's true. When he did fly that back in the day.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about what did you
Bullseye.
think? Bullseye.
Can we talk about how the dialogue in this movie is the worst dialogue?
It's bad dialogue.
It's bad dialogue.
Bad. I want to say bad acting, but
You should, because it's also that.
But sans Alec
Guinness is good.
as Obi-Wan.
I would say Peter Cushing is good. I would say Harrison Ford tries.
Peter Cushing's Tarkin, right?
He's Tarkin.
So that's It's kind of the boss man for Darth Vader.
He's
in this
like
particular movie.
the project manager of the Death Star.
I gotta see what he looks like in real life.
That.
Oh, he does.
He's
Okay.
an old, haggard, sallow man.
Nice. And now, do we see Darth in the first one? I forget.
Oh yeah.
We do. Okay.
Like his face or himself as a
No,
character?
just himself as a character.
lot,
That's right.
yes.
That's right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Of course.
What did you think, Kara, about did the acting or the dialogue bother you at all? Did it stand out when you saw all three compared to the others?
Literally,
for
the
first
thing
one?
that bothered me the most about all of these movies is James Earl Jones as
Really?
literally so
bothered you?
distracting. I kept waiting for him to be like, if you build it, they will come. And I was like, this voice is like not somebody that I associate with Darth Vader. Like James Earl Jones is like the sweetest, nicest
Interesting.
man. Like how can you put his voice inside Darth Vader, who's supposed to be so terrible and mean?
That is an
trouble with
idiosyncratic
that.
response. I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah,
I had trouble
wasn't
with that.
prepared for that being your the thing that you latched onto as being the issue with
The whole
this.
time I was just picturing him. It was like, oh, this sweet man in the end. He was so much smaller. I thought he was supposed to be big and intimidating. He's kind of small for like a Darth Vader.
Well,
you
I
know?
will say a few people pointed out that not Fenimore, in fact, pointed on people latched onto this comment on our site as well too, is that the New Hope doesn't really, and it goes back to, I don't think when Lucas was going out to make this that he anticipated that this would become
Hell no.
So
No. All
Vader,
of the mythology about how it was initially like 3 trilogies and this and that is all straight up lies.
it doesn't support itself with what happens in the movie. You have Darth Vader as Tarkin's bitch, basically, and it's not really that way.
I mean, that's an uncharitable way of
Tarkin is
describing it.
telling him what to do.
Yes, but
which
also
in the
he
subsequent
can
movies,
choke people with his mind.
He can, so he can do that at any point. So why is he taking orders from Tarkin?
Because there's still a military hierarchy.
I just feel like in the other subsequent movies, Lord Vader seems to kind of run the show,
Well-
second in command to the Emperor.
Yes, that is very much what's implied in every other Star Wars movie besides the first one, for sure. But,
So it's just that's the part where, as its own movie, New Hope, like the things that I particularly liked about it is the acting, not so much, and I blame a little bit because the established actors do a great job.
Mm-hmm.
When the unestablished ones don't, Billy the Kid pointed this out too, is that really does fall on the director not getting performances.
George Lucas is a very bad director of actors. There's an extremely famous quote from Harrison Ford on the set of this film: "George, you can write this shit, but you can't say it."
Yeah.
In reference to like all of those dumb lines of dialogue, which, sci-fi since the dawn of sci-fi has been using made up terminology, but for some reason it just sounds so bad in Star Wars. Like, I made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. That's a dumb fucking line. And like when Scotty is talking about reversing the dilithium crystals, that's just like, well, in whatever bullshit made up fantasy world, that makes sense. In Star Wars, it doesn't even make sense. It's just like, no, that's just, you're just making word salad. So that's the thing. And I think that hurts the actors. Carrie Fisher has that really weird thing where the first scene she shot, which was the one with Peter Cushing, she's decided to use a British accent.
Thank you. I thought I
Totally,
was losing my
happened.
mind.
That was the first scene they shot, and she was like, "I can't do that accent. Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how to do it." So she stopped doing it. But they didn't reshoot those scenes. So
Did
in
you
one
do
scene,
you remember? I said I turned
You
to you.
did.
I said,
You mentioned it, yeah.
Was she British?
Governor
before?
talking.
Yeah.
I thought I smelled your foul stench the moment I walked in here.
And I was like, maybe we just misheard. Like maybe we missed something.
We should have went back.
We should have.
We still can.
Yeah, I thought R2D2. So I don't know, and I want to get to this when we get to the next one too. But in the first one, the actual set pieces, like R2D2 looked like a bunch of Pepsi cans like glued together. Like he just didn't feel great. And then he improved in the future
the
ones.
first one was made for a very small budget. 20th Century Fox had no expectations that it was going to do anything. They thought it was just going to be like some kiddie matinee film. Ended up becoming the highest grossing film in history at the time it was released. And even now, adjusting for inflation, still the third highest grossing film behind Gone with the Wind and Sound of Music, I believe. So the movie was not made for much. And then when the sequels came out, they were made for a lot of money.
Okay.
Which is why, and the other thing that I noticed, I think I've noticed it before, but it really stood out to me this time. C-3PO is played by Anthony Daniels. So he's got like a top half that's brass and a bottom half that's brass. And in the middle, there's like wiring that's connecting that. It's really obvious in the first movie that he's wearing just like a black leotard.
I saw the leotard,
That's had like wires painted onto it. So so that's definitely a thing. No question.
But there's probably a charm, I would imagine.
There's a hell of a lot of charm.
If you've seen this many years
There's
ago.
a charm if you're the kind of person who likes old visual effects for their own sake.
Sure,
as I am.
even faulty as they might be.
So we appreciate Lucas for introducing, the idea of Star Wars, and then, it ended up winning 6 Oscars as well.
Best Picture nominee.
A couple folks pointed out too, as far as standouts for this, was the binary sunset.
Yes,
I mean
that scene is
those are
so
beautiful
That was really
shots.
pretty.
The score.
Do they do that in all of them? I feel like I remember the binary sunset in the last one.
shows
They
up
do,
in
but
Jedi.
it's again,
Okay.
this is the first.
It's,
It was
it's
done
on that
really well.
planet.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the score?
Yeah,
'Cause,
please.
I could spend this hour doing nothing but talking about the score for the first
We
one.
know you could.
Because it's a good score.
You only have 1 minute.
It's a real no.
Tell me about
I need
it.
2 minutes. So the score by John Williams. So let's just talk about the thing what the score is. So John Williams for this movie decided to use Wagnerian leitmotif, which is basically taking a cue from opera and from specifically the work of Richard Wagner, associating every concept or character with a single passage of music, and then constructing the entire score out of the interplay of those various cues and motifs. So that's going on. It had been done in movies, more actually, I think, than we give it credit for, but never so systematically. And one of the things I think that's amazing about Star Wars is the percentage of screen time that has music. It is a very, very musically driven film. I would go so far as to say that the music is what Star Wars, like the music guides Star Wars more than the plot does, more than the characters do, more than anything. It's like a
staple.
It's like a symphony that has images stapled onto it, rather than a movie that has a score. And I think it works incredibly well. I'm capable of saying a lot of Star Wars is not good. The acting is not good. The plot's kind of ratty. The dialogue is terrible. This is still, to me, a 4.5-star movie, largely on the basis of the music and like what the music is doing to guide and shape the image. And also because of the editing. And I don't want to skip ahead because I would love to talk more about the score if we could, but this is a film that uses music and image cutting in this really sophisticated way, I'd say, that sort of creates a rhythm that has very little to do with what's being done and said, but still feels very palpable as you're watching the film. Like you can tell how it flows.
Do you know the history on it, though, did he write these scores specifically for this movie?
Oh, he certainly did.
He did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a big task.
It's a big task.
Like, these are long movies.
And this was early in his career. He had a lot to prove, and he proved it
Yeah.
real big. This was one of this film's 6 Oscars was for its score.
For its son, yeah.
And unquestionably deserved.
No one can deny that the music in this isn't
So
one of its
then
best aspects.
Lucas took his film and his points that he had on the toys too, right? He didn't get paid a whole lot up front.
No, he took the merchandising rights in lieu
rights?
of a director's fee. And that worked out extraordinarily well for him.
Worked out well. So I think his whole thing was to be able to self-fund future iterations of this, to outside of the studio system is kind of what I had read as well.
That's how it played out. I don't know if that was the plan when he started it.
Oh yeah, I don't think you go in knowing how. I don't
think you make Star Wars on the assumption that Star Wars is going to be a $400 million grosser.
Yeah, a lot of it was luck on his choices as far as to doing that, and taking a risk on himself and placing the bet on himself, and it paid off handsomely. He was able to kind of go outside the studio system. Had trouble finding directors not associated with the associations. I was kind of reading a little bit of background as well too. Something he pissed off the PGA, the Producers Guild and the Directors Guild.
The DGA threw him out basically because of how the credits were done.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Because he wanted it to be.
The film opens with the word Star Wars and a crawl, and then goes into the movie. Had never been done. I think The Godfather had very minimal credits, but really at that point in time, credits were still something that happened before the movie. This was the first movie to have literally all of its credits and a crawl at the end, and that was like not okay with people.
And he chose not to direct, and then the subsequent film, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, so Irvin Kershner stepped in the director's chair, and Lawrence Kasdan, amongst others, filled in on the writing side. Yep. And then, Care, so what did you think about The Empire Strikes Back? And walk us through in your special way of the synopsis.
Quite accurate
It's
and
very
thorough.
accurate, play by play. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So we're going to move from sandy to snowy.
This is
right?
exciting because Star Wars has a really enormously straightforward, clear plot. Empire doesn't, so I'm really excited to hear what you make of the plot of Empire.
Good to know. Good to know. So, like I said, we're moving to sandy to snowy. So the Alliance, who I mentioned before, not good people. Oh, wait, they are good people. Sorry.
Good.
They're good people.
So
the Alliance loses in the first one, right?
No, the Alliance.
They've had a
blew up
very
the Death
big
Star.
victory. Very big victory.
Oh, right. Well, from the first one. Yeah. Did I say loses?
The films open with 3-paragraph cards
this job.
minutely laying out what happens.
Remember when I said I was really concerned about this episode? Like, this is mostly why. So let me just skip past that part. So there's still the Alliance is still around, and so is the Evil Empire, who is still Darth Vader and his cronies. So Darth Vader takes more of a step forward in this one.
He does.
More present. He's more bad.
Why is he more present?
I feel like I'm in class right now. Because he's starting to care about his family. And
Well, we don't know that initially. We just know that he wants.
he has a job to find his son.
Find Luke Skywalker.
Yes, to find Luke Skywalker, but we don't know why.
We don't know yet.
Because who knows? He just is really
because the matter of Vader being Luke's father is not something that we'll talk.
It's not been addressed yet.
We'll talk about that when we get.
So
to
he's
it.
really interested in finding Luke. So then it brings us to the snowy planet. There's some scuffles with some hairy beast, like white beast things. A wampa. Luke cuts off one of his arms, which Rob told me caused some sort of, I don't know, tension.
Yeah, Mark Hamill recently said just that in retrospect, that's not something he feels the Luke character would have done.
chopped an arm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he didn't shoot that scene with knowing that that's how they were going to pull it together.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think that's.
I think that is an appropriate point. I think that the Luke arc over these 3 movies would not necessarily include cutting off that animal's arm.
Right. So then
You should just shoved it right down its throat. Just boil it,
both.
cut it right.
That would have
That's
been
what
nicer.
it
Or just
done.
tied
End
it
to
up
end.
and like left it, So Luke's still out there. Luke's still out there trying to harness his powers and become a better Jedi and try and like harness his strengths, figure this whole situation out. Then he goes and he meets a small green gentleman named Yoda.
Yes.
And he is
Small green gentleman is my favorite phrase that has shown up on this podcast since we started recording it.
it's descriptive and clear and accurate. And so he has to help him harness his powers. He goes there, but Yoda is really powerful too, right?
He is like
Like
a
mind
great
powerful.
Jedi.
He's a great
he's the
Jedi.
trainer of the Jedis, or one of the.
Right.
Yeah, he's kind of the. Yeah.
Has he always looked like that?
He's 900 years old, 800 years old.
But I mean,
at
has
the
he
time.
gotten smaller, or has he always been like a non-human?
We
thing?
first meet him. I mean, this is the first time we see him, really. But if we think of the films in their chronological order, we first meet him only about 40 years earlier, when he's still over 800 years old. So
still
I think
old.
it's hard to judge.
Still looks the same. Okay, still green.
Maybe at some point, one of Disney's endless spin-offs will be about the adventures of like 150-year-old Yoda, and he'll be like
a young Yoda,
handsome and tall. I don't
And
know.
so that would be. I really would watch that. So anyway, meanwhile, Hans and Leia start to realize they have a little thing for each other in this one. In the beginning,
Yep.
There's like a little attraction. Rob's like, "Did you see her do that little glance?" And I was like, "That was like a glance of disgust." Rob's like, "No, that was a furtive glance."
Rob's
yeah.
right. I hate to say that.
No.
Rob's totally right. No, the way they reintroduce the characters at the start is so beautifully like straight.
Oh.
It assumes everyone's going to know the film, so it doesn't dick around with like why Princess Leia, leader of the rebellion whose planet was blown up. It just like gives this nice little moment where she glances up, and like that glance does. I like the editing.
That is the face I have when Rob doesn't put the toilet paper back on the roll. Like, like it's that eye, but whatever, the side eye. But
well,
maybe,
like she's disappointed because he's leaving, but that's because she's horned up for him.
Oh, okay. Well, that's one way to look at it. So then they have a little thing for it. So this is where I'm starting to like. It's starting to heat up a little bit. I'm starting to like this a little bit more because I wanted to see this thing play out. And then just when things are getting a little bit steamy, they get captured by the Empire.
They do.
And then Luke goes after them again because Luke's always got to do the heavy lifting around here. But he's defeated, right?
He's set back.
He's set back. Defeated's a strong word. But also, he finds out the horrifying news that he is Darth's son in this movie. Like, how horrifying. I mean, that guy's not exactly like what if you know you're going to grow up to look like Darth Vader? Like, that's not ideal, And then, in the end, Han ends up getting like frozen in this coal matter
Carbonite.
Carbonite, yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Although coal matter
Yeah,
is not an inapt description of carbon.
Yeah.
Right? So
That was close. And he's frozen there in this, but he's still alive, we think. Maybe, we don't really
we
know.
don't know. It ends on question marks.
It's on question marks.
across the board.
Does Leia get away in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
She actually comes back to rescue Luke through telepathy.
Yes.
That Luke's had his arm chopped off now.
That's
and is
unfortunate,
hanging.
yeah.
by the
Besides
edge
hand
of.
chopped off. He's a perfectly functional arm.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You could
just
use
his hand chopped.
Yeah. And then this is where this one ends. This one for me. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that covers the ground much more thoroughly than Star Wars did.
Okay. Okay. So then some of the same improved cinematography, like you mentioned, and the main call out for me in this one, what's up with the PowerPoint transitions from
Oh yeah, the
scene to scene?
Do you like the wipes?
I love them. They are a throwback to the filmography of Akira Kurosawa, who we probably should have mentioned. Star Wars, among its many guises, is basically a straightforward remake of Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress. So Lucas was borrowing from a lot of different stuff, 40s movie serials, pulp sci-fi from the 20s through the 50s, and Japanese samurai movies, and that's where he got those wipes from.
Okay.
The
Well, it felt a little weird, felt a little cheap and weird to a first-time viewer.
It's meant to make it feel old-fashioned.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's this one.
All right.
And what are your...
do you feel, compared to now we were comparing it to the first, how do you feel about it? Like things that were better,
It was a
worse?
good
She said she liked it
continuation.
You liked it better?
I liked it better,
overall, but many
good continuation.
Yeah.
Good. I liked the character building. I was actually more interested.
The characters are so much better, and
Yeah.
the acting is so much better.
Yeah.
And I agree on the acting part too. And this is where it's the same actors. So unless in that 1 year span,
Three.
is it three?
This is when they still
This
made
is
Star Wars every
1980.
3
Oh,
years.
so-
now,
oh
when they
yeah,
made
yeah,
Star
3
Wars
years.
every 6
Okay.
months.
So unless in that span, everybody took some hardcore acting classes. The
No.
director is getting better performances from these actors.
I would not hesitate to say that Kirshner was the best director who's ever made a Star Wars film. We'll see if that remains true once Rian Johnson's comes out. But no, Kirshner certainly, he knew where to set the camera. He knew how to get the actors to do interesting things, and encourage the actors to really play with their characters. Whereas Lucas was just trying to position them in front of, scenes. The very famous story. So at the end, when we've had this whole movie where Han keeps flirting with Leia, and Leia keeps being standoffish in a very clearly flirty way, but at the same time sort of no, fuck off.
I think you guys don't know how to read. This says a lot. I think you you're interpreting Leia's. I can't say her name right. Leia's.
Well, that's because in the movies no one pronounces her name the same way.
Okay.
So there's that.
I'm you're interpreting her facial expressions this way when she's really hey, no, just back it off. And you're oh, but that's a come hither.
Well,
look.
it
Yeah.
is clearly that because there's a solitary character arc for both of those two people
All right,
in
whatever.
the movie.
So maybe
that
you're right.
culminates where she says, "I love you."
I know.
And in the script, he says, "I love you too." And Harrison Ford went up to Kirshner and said, "I don't think this is right." And Kirshner said, "What do you think is right?" And Ford said, "I think I should say I know." And Kirshner said, "Go with it." On-set improvisation.
Yeah.
And it's the best character moment in the Star Wars franchise.
I was looking for it because a commenter, Becca Stewart, had said that on one of the pictures that we had posted, and so I was waiting for it, and it was just as described. It was wonderful.
It's so much better than any other piece of acting in this series.
Yeah, and compared to the first two, as far as the dramatic elements, I care more about what's happening in the scenes too. Is you're getting performances. When Luke finds out the truth of who his father is too, that performance, the fight scenes, I care more about what's going on in each scene.
Yeah,
there's tension, more tension.
Well, what's interesting, the fight scene, the lightsaber battle between Vader and Luke is so interesting because it's not just so I know, Carrie, you haven't seen the prequels yet, and I think the prequels have some amazing just choreography of the fights, and in particular the first prequel has one of the most beautiful sword fights ever filmed, as far as I'm concerned. But they're very much presentational, very look at our beautiful choreography, look what our stunt people can do. In Empire Strikes Back, the sword battle between Luke and Darth Vader has such a narrative content because it's very clear that at any moment, if he wanted to, Darth Vader could just chop Luke's hand off. But he's evaluating where Luke is at. He's serving as a fencing instructor, trying to determine what exactly is the skill level of this person in front of me, which is just such an amazing piece of storytelling through fighting. But the interesting thing is that reveal, depending on who you ask. So the thing to keep in mind, James Earl Jones, who delivered the line, "Luke, I am your father." No, I am your father. Not on set. That was all post-production. Depending on whose version of the story you hear, up to nobody knew that was what Darth Vader said. In the script, the line was, "Obi-Wan killed your father." And It is possible that only Lucas and James Earl Jones knew otherwise. It's possible that Lucas Kirshner and James Earl Jones knew otherwise. It's possible that those people plus David Prowse, who plays the body of Darth Vader, and Mark Hamill knew otherwise. Mark Hamill, though, might not have known. Like, there's never been a consistent story there.
I'm more impressed if Mark Hamill didn't know, because the shriek he gives and the look he gives is just, it's burned into my memory, even from my first watch.
That's what good editing will do for you, is it'll make moments like that. And I mean, I said it before with the first one. The Star Wars films across the board, even the really shitty ones, have just flawlessly good editing.
We're also
such well edited.
Also introduced, Carrie mentioned, to Yoda, played by Frank Oz, and Billy D. Williams. Any thoughts on those two characters?
What do you mean Yoda's played by? He's like just the voice.
The puppeteer.
He's puppeteered and
voiced.
voiced by Frank Oz.
Oh, he's using strings.
Yes.
Okay.
No, Frank Oz has his hand up Yoda's ass.
Oh, he does.
He's doing.
That makes more sense. He looked like he had a hand up his ass.
Both.
He's a Muppet.
No one.
In a real sense, Yoda is the same technology as the Muppets.
Okay.
He's just a much costlier, more realistic Muppet.
No one's really talked. I haven't seen anything in the threads about Billy D. Williams. Like, how's everybody's feeling on Billy D?
I like him a lot in Empire. I think that Return of the Jedi sort of ruins the character, and that makes it a lot harder for me to like what he's doing in Empire.
Who did you say he was again?
Lando
Calrissian. Kind of betrays them.
Is he the driver of the ship?
He is the administrator of the gas planet.
Oh, okay. I have no thoughts on him.
Okay. Yoda, good guy. Yoda's interesting. It did create a little bit of buzz, particularly with Empire, about the training sequence. A little bit on the timing. The way the timing seems to work out is they're trying to fix the light space unit. So how long is the training sequence that
these two films are discontinuous? It reminds me exactly of the situation in Disney's Beauty and the Beast, the cartoon version, not the live action version, where they badly patched over it in the live action version, where you have two plots running concurrently and there is no way to square them chronologically. And life goes on.
Okay.
That's how I feel about that situation.
Yeah, so it's not that the training lasted 48 hours or anything like that.
The training lasted. It's one of those things where sci-fi technology takes place at the speed of plot.
Yeah,
basically.
You suspend your disbelief a little bit.
I get what I need to out of the Yoda scenes. I get what I need to out of the Millennium Falcon scenes.
Fair enough.
It is unimportant to me if I can square those things up in my head, if I get what I need.
One thing that bothered listener and friend of the show, Andrew Milne, Yoda saying not to save his friends, to not go back. His training isn't complete yet. That's what Vader wants you to do, is to go. You got to let him die. Basically, and
I buy that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the idea is that we have this idea of the Jedi as being like this altruistic, almost Christian monastic order, which is not the case. They're based on an Eastern, like a Buddhist style order. So they're ascetic. Like, they believe in eschewing human connections, and this is like the thing that drives the plot. God forgive me, of the prequels, is all about how actually the Jedi are not the good guys. The Jedi are the sort of purify yourself and leave behind all human connections, guys.
Including
and that, I think,
emotion.
is consistent.
It's being emotionless, and
it's being emotionless. It's getting back to and I'm not like slagging on Buddhism. I think it's possibly the most moral of all the world's religious systems. Buddhism does not say be happy. Buddhism says be centered. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the Jedi are. The Jedi are not all about like save your friends and save the galaxy. The Jedi are all about like be at peace.
But how does that play? That doesn't play out that way in the end when we get to the next one.
It doesn't.
Okay.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
And
so
that's partially because the next one's a lot worse than the first two.
Oh.
Spoiler alert. I have a ranking.
You have a ranking.
Well,
okay,
let's get to the next one. Star Wars Episode 6 now. Return of the Jedi.
1983. 3 years have passed.
So at this point, Kirshner has proven to be a little bit too much director for George Lucas. He wants someone he can control a little bit more. So as one naturally will, he looks around and it's like, what movie has made a splash that I think I might want to grab that guy? So he sees this movie called The Elephant Man. And he's like, The Elephant Man was really well directed. Hey, director of The Elephant Man, will you make my next Star Wars movie? And that person, of course, was David Lynch. And David Lynch was like, are you crazy? No. And goes off to make Dune. Is
that what his voice sounds like?
Kind of.
Okay.
So David Lynch goes to make Dune for Dino De Laurentiis in exchange for getting to make Blue Velvet with like literally no oversight at all. Meanwhile, Lucas is still looking for a yes man, and he stumbles upon one in the form of Richard Marquand, who, unlike Kirshner, who I think is very clearly making a film as much as he can without George Lucas getting his fingers in it, Marquand was very much like a stenographer for Lucas, and like everyone acknowledges that.
So what did you think, Carrie, about this one? Walk us through a little bit about what's going on.
Let me tell you about this one. This one I feel the most clear on what happened. So this one introduces us to Jabba the Hutt.
He does.
Who should be called Pizza the Hutt, but whatever. I like that name better. The gang comes back together to rescue Han. And
I like that way of putting it.
There's a group, there's a little bit of a gang. They break him free easily from the carbonite.
They do.
And he's sort of immobile in the beginning, like he's having a little trouble regrouping. But then they also have to take down Jabba the Hutt, which how could you possibly take down an immobile pile of sludge that is Jabba and his power, which I don't actually know he has one.
His power is having enough money to hire goons.
Okay, that seems like what he had. And so then Luke, after this, they defeat Jabba. Actually, Leia defeats Jabba pretty easily. And then Luke goes out to visit Yoda again, who at this point is like really old. Now he's like old, so he's like about to pass away.
He's about to die.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yoda dies.
This is the point in which we needed to finish watching the show today, or finish watching the movie today, and I was like, the only way we're going to get this done is if we watch it with our kids. So we turned it on, and Yoda's like croaking, and I was like,
get past this
get
point.
past it.
But otherwise, if you're introducing Star Wars,
these are kids' movies.
But this one, of the three, this one, I think, because of Ewoks, which Carrie hasn't gotten to yet, but like that made it
most
more
kid-friendly,
like digestible for our
They were just like, oh, cute, and I was like, yeah,
that's precisely what the Ewoks are there for.
Yeah,
they were designed to sell toys.
They did. And so Yoda does pass away, very sadly. And then, but he does confirm again that Darth is his father, but also reveals to Luke, mystery surprise, he isn't the only Skywalker.
Well, we get that plot hook at the end during a part of Empire where we find out there's another hope. There's another potential Jedi. We now find out that other potential Jedi is Luke's sibling.
Yeah. So there's a new hope.
A newer hope.
And it's, so the twist is Leia, who he's had this weird crush on. He's kind of had a crush on her, hasn't he?
You're not supposed to notice that anymore.
Yeah, and we can talk about that. Let's talk about that.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
We have to talk about that.
You guys are all smirking at me here.
No.
So he had a little bit of crush on her for all these movies, but now it's like, oops, this is awkward. This is actually your twin sister, even though, you don't look anything alike and, whatever. You don't have to be identical, I guess. So then,
both look like buffed white people from Southern California. I buy it.
It could work. So then again, like all of its pre-movies, a battle begins again with the Alliance and yet another Death Star because they had a spare.
They did.
And Luke comes to confront Darth and the Emperor and the Sith mastermind. The Sith is also the Emperor.
Sith are bad Jedi.
Right.
But we never hear that word spoken out loud until I believe episode 1, so I don't understand. It's one of those many things where words became part of the conversation.
There's so many words.
Without actually, the word Ewok is never said out loud.
Yeah, but
in
you
a
know
Star
it
Wars
exists.
film, but we all know they're called Ewoks.
Yeah.
And I never figured out how. I mean, it can't just be that the toys were marketed that well, but I think it is that the toys were marketed that well.
I don't know. So then they go out, and they fight. Then the Ewoks come into play, who are these cute little furry teddy bear.
Cute little Viet Cong.
Yeah. Viet Cong? Is that what they are?
They were George Lucas's homage to the Viet Cong.
Okay. Didn't realize that one.
Yep.
So they come out. They're good guys, right? Sort of.
They're chaotic, neutral, leaning good.
Yeah. Okay, they were helping Leia. They didn't kill her when they got her. They captured her. There was a fight in the woods, and they didn't kill her. So then Luke goes to battle Darth Vader again, but this time Darth Vader shows mercy, right? And this time, now the other guy's there, the Emperor. The
Emperor kind of wants to. The
Emperor starts pitting them against each other, and he's like, "You have to kill Darth Vader to Luke."
And for me, it's more of the Emperor's really out to get another addition to his Darth Vader arsenal. He wants Luke to join the family.
He does,
business.
but in order to do that, he has to kill Darth.
Well, he has to kill in anger.
Okay.
And at one point, the Emperor even says, "Go ahead and kill me. As long as you kill somebody, all's good."
How would that have played out, though? So what if he was like, "Yeah, I will kill you, Emperor"? Then what would have happened? I think then
the Emperor's won. It's the conversion to
it's a moral fight, not a who's going to kill the other person with a lightsaber.
He wants Luke to feel like he wants to kill someone because then it's easier to.
He wants Luke to kill in anger.
But would he have let him kill him? No,
Yes.
he would. Oh, okay. This is all weird. So anyway.
Well, because as we know, if you die and you're a strong Force user, you come back as a ghost who like literally can do all the things you could have done when you were alive. So what's even the inconvenience?
That's true. That's actually a really good point. So yeah, that plays out, and then it's a really sad ending because Darth refines his good side,
that
right?
famously sad ending of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Real downer.
It is. Wait, is it? It is sad, right? Well, no, because Darth unfortunately passes away, but it's after he's become good again.
It's a sacrifice that he makes. I think that's an uplifting moment.
He dies, and whilst dying is redeemed.
Yeah, and he kills the Emperor, his boss.
You wouldn't have liked Darth had he not self-sacrificed for that reason. And that's
where we're at. And then they win. The good guys, the Jedis, all win at the end.
They blow up the other Death Star.
And they blow up the other second backup Death Star. Yes.
So highlights. I guess if highlights for you out of this one, what's better, worse than the prior two?
I mean, if we're at the point where we're ranking,
why not?
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
Really
interesting.
Not you.
2, 1, 3, and there's a big gap between 1 and 3.
2, 1, 3. Really?
Yeah.
With the Ewoks, and Darth.
And it's funny because
back.
I'll go 2, 3, 1 is actually where I'm feeling.
Really?
Yeah. Is that an odd? Is that
I think the first two are the best two is pretty much the conventional wisdom, no matter how many new Star Wars films get made.
Interesting.
3 felt like it had all the things pulled together. Now you've got the full-on relationship.
I will agree that 2, 1, 3 is the way that IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, and I think for far and away our audience kind of felt 2, 1, 3 is the accurate portrayal. I did
2 and 3 were similar.
I did see some 3 first.
You did?
He's
like, oh no, I didn't see.
But by and large, 2 is The Empire Strikes Back.
It used to be the case that it was 1, 2, 3 was everyone's order. I don't know when that shifted. Maybe around the early 2000s. Maybe after the prequels came out. It used to be like Star Wars was everybody's favorite and Empire was a little bit too grim, and that did shift. But yeah, no, I've been 2, 1, 3 as long as I've known all 3 movies.
And for me, the reason why I put 1 less, and usually I like origin stories, it's because it didn't set out to do that, and so it all the best parts were grabbed from it and then made into the movies that I think all know in the canon we all now know and love as well. So yeah, if it's just a standalone movie, it's like that's okay. But I mean, I thank it for everything that.
What I love about it, I think it uses music in the most sophisticated way. I think it's the best edited of them. Although the editing in the climax of 3 is really good. And I really like how much the first one still feels like a 70s movie, and the second and third don't. Like they have that sort of weird timelessness of blockbusters that feels a little like too polished, whereas the first one really does feel like it was made in the 70s, and I do like that about it. Yeah, for me, the problem with the third one is that the script is just a mess. Like, what happened here? Initially, so there was no plan, and Lucas has talked about, like, there was always a plan. There was never, ever, ever, ever a plan. The idea was that after Empire Strikes Back, they were going to make episode 6, which was going to be finding Han Solo. And at the end of the movie, Han Solo was going to gloriously sacrifice himself because Harrison Ford hated these movies, wanted nothing to do with them. And then towards the end of this movie, Luke Skywalker was going to find out he had a sister. And then episode 7, which would have come out in 1986, was going to be all about the quest to find the missing Skywalker. And then they would do so, and then Luke and his sister and Leia and all the rebellion would defeat the Empire once and for all. Sometime in the scripting phase of episode 6, they decided, fuck it, no one wants to make these Star Wars movies anymore. Let's just do everything in this one movie. And you end up with this movie that like has this really protracted false first act where it's like, let's save Han, and then turns into what was going to be episode 7 of Let's Stop the Empire. But because they didn't have time for the plot where Luke finds his sister, they had the sister, like they'd written that in, like Luke's got a secret sister, but they only had one named female character. So she had to be it. And that creates those issues of like, in no way, shape, or form were the first 2 movies setting up Leia to be a hidden Skywalker.
And I prefer, too, the tension I like, and obviously subsequent movies have built on that. And I'll I don't want to compare Star Wars to the Twilight series, but you had you could ride that out. You could ride out that tension of the.
Although I feel like
but it was already broken with Han. It was already done.
In the Twilight series, as in the Star Wars series, it's clear who she's going to end up with. So it's not a real tension.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, she
loves Han. That's clear at the end of it.
And going to playing that out more, and then it just seems like a cop-out way to establish to resolve whatever remaining tension there was.
Yeah.
Because there's a smooch, I guess, back in the first one that she does out of spite to make Han jealous.
In the first one, they kiss real quick before they swing across the chasm in the Death Star. And the second one, they kiss apparently with tongue to make Han jealous.
Oh, see, that's where things just get a little weird. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I like this one. I just thought I liked the story. I wasn't paying so much attention to the dialogue as I just liked it.
I liked the resolution. The least bad dialogue of the three.
I liked
the resolution. I just was like, I felt like I had closure.
Is a badass in this one, and I like. This is my favorite.
Hamill
iteration.
Gets better and better.
He's the best out of the three.
And apparently gets better and better still if the initial responses to Episode 8 are going to be true.
That's what I hear. The thing I also like about this, more Darth, more the Emperor.
Yeah,
and his
I like
lines.
that too.
I love it.
What I like about this is, like I kind of indicated, that final, very long sequence, basically...
On the Death Star?
Even longer, even bigger than that. So it's basically when the rebels prepare to launch into hyperspace. From that point, more or less until the Death Star actually explodes, is this extraordinarily large-scale cross-cutting between three lines of action. And two of those lines of action are themselves cross-cutting. So you have the space battle, you have the forest battle, you have Luke versus Vader in front of the Emperor, and then the space battle has multiple angles, and the forest battle has multiple angles. So you have all of this really elaborate crossing between areas for like half of an hour, and I think it's the best set piece, and it's so big that it's even ridiculous to call it a set piece, but that's the best action in Star Wars.
It's basically Dunkirk right there.
It's basically Dunkirk. You're joking, but
I know. That's what when you're describing it. That's what I'm thinking in my mind.
And plus, you have this amazing suite of John Williams music where he's just pulling from all of the music he's written for the trilogy, repurposing it, adding new stuff. There's this really great. The music when they like rev up for the battle before the space battle actually begins is one of my favorite cues he wrote. Just an amazing just coup de cinema in terms of how it's using editing and music and pacing and all of this stuff to like create this really elaborate battle scene.
See, I think we're on the same page.
But I hate the Jabba scenes.
The Jabba scenes are great. Yeah, I know. That's why I said he should have been Pizza Hut.
And Jabba looks fake. Yeah. And I didn't realize that till I rewatched them in 2015. Jabba looks like a big old polystyrene bag.
Yeah, but at the same time, too, you could say that about all the other weird-looking people that they have on there. Like, none of those people look real either.
There's a difference between, do I know that Yoda's a puppet? Yes. Yoda is a well-lit and well-framed puppet.
Right.
Jabba is an overlit puppet who therefore looks like he's made out of foam.
Yeah, it was terrible. No,
and that's the
really
thing.
bad.
And that's where Marquand versus Kirshner, that's where having like good filmmakers versus George Lucas's yes men comes into play. Because Empire is better shot. It has better use of color. It has much more interesting lighting. Everything's overexposed in Return of the Jedi. Like everything except for the special effects scenes.
I thought Yoda would be more prominent. It was like he wasn't really in the movies as much. For as much as I hear about Yoda, he's like the main focus when you talk about Star Wars.
This is one of the interesting things about Star Wars is that whoever gets the main focus is rarely that important. So like Yoda, Boba Fett. Do you know who Boba Fett is?
Yes, I do know who Boba Fett is.
But honestly, do you know who Boba Fett is?
Oh, in real life?
Like, no, do you know who he is in these movies?
Yeah, the guy who's kind of in black, dressed in black a little bit.
He's wearing green.
Greenish black?
Greenish black.
Yeah.
And this is funny because I actually specifically pointed Boba Fett out earlier, and Carrie still doesn't remember.
Because the thing about Boba Fett is a non-entity.
Yeah. Well, and that's revisiting.
And the fans were like, Boba Fett's the best character. It's like, what are you fucking talking about? He has a jetpack. Is that what you like?
Yeah.
The jetpack. This leads me to my question. Who is, if you had to choose your favorite character in the entire movie, without thinking about it?
Han Solo. In Jedi or the entire trilogy?
Whole movie. Whole trilogy.
Han Solo.
Han Solo. Rob.
Han Solo.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's yours?
So I thought it was going to be Han Solo and Chewie with going into it.
Yep.
But Chewie ended up feeling like, you know, when like you see the Santa costume that your dad wore like 20 years later and you're like, oh, that's kind of looks like raggedy and fake. That looks like Chewie.
I mean,
Chewie looks safe
and
being
again,
Santa.
like I think if you just compare the shots of Chewie in Jedi to Empire or even Star Wars, he looks so much worse. And
Yeah.
I think it's even the same suit. I don't think
I
they
don't
did
know what
a new
it is. Maybe
suit.
it's just they didn't clean it or something.
I think it's that the movie's fucking overlit.
I don't know. Maybe. So I think I still go back to the gold robot.
Well, and I would agree.
3PO.
I like their banter back and forth in New Hope. After 3 movies, like the setup gets older. It's not played out, but for me, I like just Han Solo.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I think they ruin Han Solo in Jedi. I think Harrison Ford is very complicit in ruining Han Solo in Jedi. And I know we're not going to be talking about Force Awakens in either of these podcasts, but one of the things that does really interest me is that they got Harrison Ford back, kind of clearly against his better judgment, but I do think they made sure that Harrison Ford got what he wanted in order to make a good performance. And I think it might be his best performance of that character. It might be the one in The Force Awakens. It was really good in Empire.
Carrie still needs to see that one, and you still have some prequels to see, which we'll be revisiting.
We do.
Yeah,
Episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Which will be our last episode.
Yeah,
we haven't really talked about it.
This is our second to last episode of the season. We are ending our first full season with the Star Wars prequels, where we are going to talk about... it's kind of sad, because like the original trilogy is really good, and the prequels are less. Really.
I have this fear that I haven't seen all 3 of them. I have a fear that I might like them. I have a fear.
I have a really strong suspicion based on the way this conversation goes. I think Carrie might like them better.
Oh, I liked Rogue One. Is Rogue One better or worse than the prequel?
Better.
Okay, good.
To me,
Yeah,
I would rank Rogue One as the 3rd Star Wars film overall. I would say Empire, Star Wars, Rogue One is how I rank them right now.
Well, every week we ask you to share your picks and thoughts for a chance to win a free Amazon movie rental. Based on the results, here are all of your suggestions. We read through them all, and we picked one random person, Brian Fowler, who stated, "I think he actually comes off as more dangerous. He's ultra powerful, evil space wizard that needs to be kept on a figurative leash." Talking about Darth
Yoda.
Vader. Yoda needs to be kept on.
I thought we were talking about IG-88, the very thin black droid. Who's about to
Oh, very nice. No, this was in conversation about the first one, kind of where we were talking about where
how Vader seems to like be like a lackey.
Yeah, a lackey in that particular film.
Not to step on Brian's toes, although good quote, but for sure. That's another movie where like Darth Vader is not inherently a worthy villain. He's cool looking because he's this Jet Black character, and Jet Black is always really dramatic in movies. But he isn't what he becomes, and I think that's the Boba Fett effect, but with a character who's better to start with than Boba Fett.
And Brian also clarified too, it's because the Emperor had provided Tarkin that power to kind of run the show, and when he failed, then it's like, all right, we got to let this guy off the leash. Sure. And that's what happens there. Brian, shoot us an email at contact@alternatending.com for details on how to claim your free movie rental. If you want to win a free movie like Brian, be on the lookout for a spoiler alert or top 5 movie posts on Facebook and Twitter to share your favorite picks. In closing, I want to thank everybody for listening. Check us out on social media. Go out to our Facebook page and like it. Tweet us. We're tweeting more and more often every week, so check us out there for updates on what's new. Go out to our website, alternatending.com, for all of our blog posts, movie reviews, podcasts, and more. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google. And as we continue in preparation, as we just discussed, for Star Wars: The Last Jedi and getting Carrie up to speed, we tackle the Prequel Trilogy.
Yes, 1999's The Phantom Menace, 2002's Attack of the Clones, and 2005's Revenge of the Sith.
If you like this episode, you'll be getting more of the same, but with the prequels, so we will catch you then.